So we can get to our second speaker, Seyda. Thank you very much again, Mine.
Thank you for having me.
Seyda is a conscientious objector from Turkey, and he declared his conscientious objection in 2009. And legally speaking, he has been a draft waiter or bakaya. Is in bakaya since 2018. So we got all this information in a way, like technical information from Mine, how things are working on the legal level. But we have Seyda, who is actually having the experience of being a conscientious objector in Turkey. So can you tell us your experience, Seyda, a bit about like being a conscientious objector in Turkey, and yeah, starting from 2009 maybe.
Merhabalar herkese.
Well, hello everyone. And I would like to thank Simi for his kind introduction and for the kind invitation before May the 15th. I have been able to come together with people who are struggling for peace, and I would like to thank all of you. Well, I was born in 1989 and I'm 32 years old. And as Simi has just said, I declared my conscientious objection in 2009 in December. That was that was just after an event which was organized at the university I was a student of. But actually, I was introduced to the conscientious objection much earlier when I was a high school student. I think it was in 2006, and I had read this piece on a newspaper about an ongoing persecution about this issue. And then I kept on reading on a conscientious objection, and I have tried to learn more about the experiences of conscientious objectors in Turkey. And when I was a university student later on, I wanted to declare my conscientious objection. I knew that I had to declare it. I did not plan to do that in December 2009, but on that day, it was in a public space, and I declared my conscientious objection publicly. Of course, when you think about the legal repercussions of this, since I was a student, those individuals who are students in Turkey, even if they are at the age of military service, they are not called for military service before their studentships are ended. And we have this right to postpone our military service after graduation from university. And I've made use of this right. And I had a postponement for 2 years, and I got enrolled to a May program just for the purpose of postponing my military service. So that was another 1.5 years. This was in 2018 when I was a draft waiter. And I had declared my conscientious objection, but when it comes to the practical results of this, I was somehow removed from them. And in my daily life, that was a kind of intellectual preparation for those days during which I will be using my conscientious objection as a framework. So as I was a draft waiter, I was working for an association working for refugees, and that was mostly office work. I was not on the field, but I had many friends working on the field, working in refugee camps, for example. So during those years, I wanted to focus my attention on some field work, because I thought that office work was not good for me, and I wanted to do something active on the field. But as I was doing this, I had this position as a draft waiter, So that was, if you like, I was an illegal person in Turkey. So I shared this with my managers at the association, and I told them I wanted to work on the field, but then I had this legal status as a draft waiter. I was working for this association for which many people were working for, and it was 2017 and 2018 when most of us were targets, and that was not in the form of a conflict, but my managers have told me that it would not be appropriate for me to work on the field. So that was the first instance when I had faced a negative consequence of being a conscientious objector. So I quitted from the association in 2018, and as an independent individual without any records, and also I was exempt from the insurance rights the Turkish state bestowed to its citizens working legally. So that has been 3 years actually as a draft waiter. So in 2018, in July, when I had my status as an illegal citizen, I started writing a blog just to keep record of my illegal status. Let me write it down on the chat box if you would like to follow, but I'm a lazy person, so my writings are only in Turkish, except one of them. But if you might be interested in it, you may perhaps use Google Translate and just have some idea about what I have gone through, because this is where I have shared my experiences. So during the time when I was a draft waiter, the most significant experience I have had was, I mean, in my daily life, had been my confrontation with the police. As you know, in Turkey, the existence of the police forces on the street is very much felt by almost everyone, and you cannot miss it. And if you are using public transportation in a city like Istanbul, that means you are frequently confronted with police controls or inspections for criminal records. So as a draft waiter, when I had to come together with the police forces, I was asked to sign minutes, and I was resisting that. I didn't want to sign those documents as a conscientious objector. So that meant, if not violent, I had to explain myself to the police all the time. So that was a negative position to be in, because they were perceiving me as someone who had not good intentions for his country. But for 1.5 years, I kept doing this because I signed those documents as a conscientious objector, or I denied signing the documents.
Takdir edersiniz ki sıkıcı hale gelmeye başladı. Çünkü her seferinde sokaktaki polislerle...
But after a while, as you can imagine, it became a bit troublesome, because it's not very positive to have to get into an argument with each police officer. And afterwards, if there will be a court case, I thought it was enough basis, all the papers that I had signed, that I was a conscientious objector. After a while, I thought it was just a loss of time, a waste of time. But the first 1 year, within 1 year, I was stopped by the police usually on transportation, sometimes at hotel when I was traveling for work outside, or when I was traveling on the bus intercity, I was stopped, and I have signed or not signed, refrained from signing reports for 23 times. Mine had mentioned when you sign these papers, you face fines. In February 2019, I was faced with a fine for over 4,000 liras. I objected twice and it was turned down. And after then, my lawyer friend Gökhan Soysal, who is also among the lawyers of the Conscientious Objectors Association, I made a personal, individual application to the courts, the Constitutional Court. It has been over 1.5 years and still there's no result. I think the first application was 2014, and there must be maybe over 20, maybe 30. Gökhan may correct me if I'm wrong. None of them had. There are 47 applications. Thank you. By the way, in May 2018, when I knew I was going to be a draft evader. Before that, I made applications to Human Rights Committee of Turkish Parliament and two other authorities. I told them with a letter that I was conscientious objector and I was not going to fulfill my my service. And I said if I were to be offered an alternative service, that I was going to evaluate this offer. But close to 3 years and still there are no answers to these. About my legal situation, after February 2019, after these papers that were about the fines, I have signed many papers, but still there's no other fine that has been given to me. And after this fine, now there are penal court cases. But as Mine mentioned, about 3 years I've been living as a draft evader in Turkey, and I have only been face to face with one fine. But alongside that, the limitations, the restrictions that we have are not limited to this. And a draft evader or a deserter in our law, if you hire them as worker, it's a crime. So it's not really possible to work with Social Security. So I could possibly be hired, but then maybe the people who hired me would face a fine. And because of the fine that has been completed, my economic situation is not like other people. In other situations, people who face these fines is that they may block your bank accounts since you haven't paid the fine until you pay the fine. Since I knew that, from the moment that I was a draft evader, I kept minimal amount of money in my accounts to my name. Right now, I'm using somebody else's account, and I receive my paycheck from that account. This actually prevents my traveling also indirectly, because when you go abroad you need a visa, and when we make a visa application, the authorities need to be to make sure that you're going to go back to your homeland, so they look at your financial records first. And since I don't have a paycheck on record, or since I don't have enough money on my accounts, in my bank accounts, that would satisfy these authorities, I usually have a problem receiving a visa. There has been an exception. I was invited to work in Germany with an official letter. I didn't face this problem, but if I were to go as a tourist individually, I could never get a visa. Practically, these are the problems that I have. I'm still working off the record, on unrecorded way, and with the pandemic, the police checks were less, but now again I continue to sign papers at police stops. Right now, what I can think of in terms of my experiences are such. If there are questions, or if there are questions on other fronts, I'm ready to answer those.